You're listening to the Being Stellar podcast, the podcast for modern leaders and entrepreneurs who are tired of hustle culture and ready to invite more ease and more prosperity into their lives. I'm your host, Deborah Stellingwerff, master teacher and coach, and I am obsessed with helping you avoid burnout while you create a sustainable lifestyle full of possibility and profit on your terms. On the show, you'll hear inspiring stories of possibility, and you'll get empowering strategies and insights from me to support you in creating your stellar life. Well, hello and welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to talk about people-pleasing. Specifically, how you might be people-pleasing your way out of success. Because your success as a realtor or service-based sales provider depends on your ability to confidently embody leadership. And even the most successful people can feel a desire to be liked or a fear of conflict that can slip into people-pleasing. People-pleasing is a quiet form of self-sabotage that drains your confidence and attracts the wrong kind of clients. It undermines your authority and it erodes your value as a professional and ultimately sabotages your business success. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about 4 ways you may be people-pleasing your way out of success. Each one represents an opportunity to reclaim your power. Number 1, you might be insecure in your communication. Now let me explain what I mean by that. Your words and tones can either project confidence or they can reveal doubt. I spend a lot of time with my private clients and in my group coaching programs and even in the things that I'm teaching and the courses I make on what I call the language of sales leadership. Because if you are not in leadership with your language, you might be unconsciously signaling to your clients and prospective clients that you're actually lacking confidence and that you're trying to ingratiate yourself, and that doesn't ever go over well. So you might find yourself using phrases like, when you're emailing somebody or calling them, if you ever find yourself using a phrase like, just checking in, I want to invite you to remove that phrase from your vocabulary. Another one is, if that's okay with you. Both of these phrases, just checking in and if that's okay with you, signal your lack of authority, your lack of leadership. Now, I'm not saying you boss your clients around or your prospects, but you position yourself as a leader. That's what they want from you. Your clients want you to be in the lead. They will have more confidence in you and will trust you more when it comes time to listening to your advice when they're about to make a really big decision if you're in authority with your language from the very beginning. So phrases like just checking in, you can replace that with, I'm reaching out to let you know X, or I'm following up on our previous conversation where you said XYZ. Is that still true? Would you like to meet to discuss? Notice the difference as opposed to, hey, I'm just checking in to see if you feel like talking to me again. Obviously you wouldn't write that, but that has that vibe. The other one is, if that's okay with you. So a client asked me, a newer realtor, she asked me just today, is it okay to book showings for buyers without them asking for it? And the specific context, let me just turn my phone off, it's beeping like crazy over here. The specific context of that question was, can I book a showing before my buyers ask for it? Because they keep asking last minute. And what I told her is what I'll tell you, that you need to be in leadership around everything, and everything is a negotiation. So when your buyers are asking you last minute for showings and you're like, sure, I'll do that, no problem. You're not in leadership. And if you're like, well, I can do it at this time, is that okay with you? Then you're giving them the opportunity again to push you around. So you can turn around and say, okay, well, I will do my best to get you in at the time that suits you. And if that doesn't work, how about this time? And then you're in negotiations and you're clearly being in leadership. Obviously, if a client requests a meeting with you or a showing, if you're a realtor, you want to accommodate as best you can, but you don't want to bend over backwards because you do have to have boundaries and balance in your life. And so being in leadership around that's really important. Another way that you might be showing some insecurity in your communication is that you might be prioritizing being liked over delivering honest, informative data. I'm going to give you an example. So there was a situation, and I honestly can't remember exactly what the situation was, but I was really nervous about telling my clients that, well, I was just really nervous about telling them this news. I wish I could remember what it was. I'm going to give you a different example from a more recent client of mine, but I remember when I was really nervous about telling my clients this information because I thought they were going to be upset. And I remember saying to my mentor, "Oh, I'm really afraid to tell them this." And he goes, "Well, why are you afraid?" I'm like, "Because I don't want them to be mad at me. I want them to like me." And he reminded me that it's not my job to be liked. It's my job to deliver information and data that's going to help my clients make decisions in their best interest. Which means that you may have to deliver sometimes information that they don't like. And it's not about you. You need to understand that they're not liking you, they're not liking the information. But if you tie yourself to the information saying, it's the messenger is the message, then you're going to struggle. So for example, if you have a situation where your seller gets some feedback and the feedback is that showing their property isn't going very well because it's really messy all the time and they're getting a lot of comments about that. Now that can be tricky because people, even when they're messy in their homes, can be really defensive if you seem to be criticizing how they live. And if it's affecting their ability to sell their home, it's going to be important that you deliver that information. Now, the key is to deliver it in a way that is neutral for you and letting them know, hey, I've got some tough information to share with you. And when I say neutral for you, by the way, I mean neutral inside of you. It doesn't mean anything about you. But you have to let them know, I've got some tough information to share with you about the kind of feedback we're getting. Are you open to hearing it? And then they'll usually say yes and say, look, I'm not saying you have to do anything about this, but please know this is affecting the way people are viewing your home, and this is why maybe we're not getting any offers. So perhaps we could talk about how a strategy to change what's going on in the place so that you'll get more showings, more offers, etc. Okay, so that's just an example. All right, let's talk about the impact of being insecure in your communication. At the end of the day, insecure communication erodes trust. Clients don't want to work with somebody who doubts their own value. And when you're showing up with, just checking in, it's almost apologetic, or I'm sorry to bother you, then it shows that you're not valuing yourself and they won't value you in return. Which brings me to my next point that shows you might be people pleasing your way out of success, is that you might be avoiding to setting clear boundaries. Without clear limits, you train your clients to undervalue your time, your energy, and your expertise. So if you're allowing clients to set the agenda, set the schedule last minute with no regard to your time, and you're scrambling to adapt and adopt to their schedule, that's a problem, because when you have more than one client you're working with and you are growing your business, it's going to be harder to do that. So, and it's going to drain you of energy. We got to make sure that we take care of you so that you can fully take care of your clients. So if you're letting your clients set the agenda because you're afraid to interrupt and set limits. So for example, I had a realtor client of mine, one of my coaching clients, who was late to her coaching call because she was on a call with a client for an hour. And rather than interrupting and saying, I'm sorry, I have to wrap this up right now, I have another appointment at 11 a.m., she came late to her coaching call. Now, it just happened to be her coaching call. She would have been late for anything that was for herself, right? If it was another client, she probably would have had to adjust that. Hey, I have another appointment with another client. She may have let go. But because it was for herself, she actually ignored the limit and ignored the boundary. So I want to make sure that you set limits with people. You can do it in a respectful, polite way and just simply saying, I have to go now because I have another appointment. You let them know you're professional. If you're seeing your banker, your lawyer, your accountant, your financial advisor, they're not going to let you go on and on and on. So why would you do that as a realtor? Be a professional, set limits of the amount of time, which means you have to uplevel your skills at guiding the conversation and directing your clients to focus on the key areas that is your expertise and where you're supporting them. Okay. Another way you might be avoiding setting boundaries is letting clients set the schedule for when you are meeting, right? That you're rearranging your life for a client's convenience, even at your own expense. Now, as I said before, obviously you want to accommodate your clients the best you can within the parameters that you have set for yourself. I always say your oxygen mask first. There was a myth in the real estate industry that you have to be on 24/7, that you're always on call, you have to drop everything the minute somebody calls. And that leads to the kind of behavior that one of my clients, we'll call her P, she was taking phone calls from clients literally mid-sentence in conversation with her 5-year-old daughter. Now, if that's okay with you, stop listening now. But if it's not okay with you to show up that way in your relationships, whether with your kids or your partner or your friends, then keep listening. If you're dropping everything to meet the clients at their convenience, then you're probably in people pleasing and you're not setting boundaries. Another way you might not be setting boundaries is throwing in extras, hoping the clients will feel more satisfied. So I had another client who was paying for staging for everybody, like full on paying for staging. And when we did the profit planning for her business, when she first started working with me, and we were looking at her expenses versus her income, she realized she had a really expensive hobby because she was bringing home very little in the way of profit because she was paying for things that traditionally clients pay for. Now, you get to run your business how you like, but if you want to run a profitable business, you got to be careful not to be throwing in extras, cutting your commission, paying for things that are not your job to pay for. There's certain things as a realtor you need to pay for, but there's a lot of things that you don't need to pay for. You get to decide what those things are, but I hope you'll decide from a place of, this is how I want to run my business. This is how I want to give a little bit extra to my clients, not from a place of, I'm people pleasing and I want them to like me, so I'm giving them more at my own expense of profitability in my business. Okay. And then finally, and I mentioned this a moment ago, is like you might cave and discount your fees, afraid of pushback or rejection. And even when your expertise justifies your value, you might be tempted to cave in when somebody asks you to cut your commission because you're afraid of not being liked or you're afraid of conflict. People will ask. You don't have to say yes. Now, I do recommend that you don't just say flat out no. You enter into a conversation and you have a conversation planned for how you can handle the fee discount conversation when somebody asks you to adjust your fees. I'll talk about that in another podcast, actually. I've got a couple of realtors are doing something kind of fun with that, and maybe I'll share that. So the impact of you not setting boundaries is this. High value clients respect boundaries. So if you're not setting boundaries in your business, you're not attracting high value clients, right? A lack of those boundaries is going to make you look unprofessional and it's going to undermine trust, and you're not going to attract the kind of clients that you want to work with. Okay, number 3, sign that you're people pleasing your way out of success is that you're avoiding conflict. When you avoid difficult conversations, you sacrifice your credibility and your authority. I'm going to give an example from my own experience. I was fairly new as a realtor and I was working with a couple, and they had told me everything they said they wanted. And then they suddenly told me that they'd found a place they wanted to buy, and it was nothing like what they said they wanted. And at the time, I was like, well, I have to let them make their own decision. So I'm going to sit back, and they're asking me, well, what do you think? What do you think? I'm like, well, what do you think? What do you need? And I was so afraid of them not being happy with me if I said, this doesn't seem to meet any of your criteria. I'm wondering if something's changed and what's going on here. Because you said you didn't want stairs, and this has 2 flights of stairs. And you said you didn't want XYZ, and it has those things. And you said you did want this, and it doesn't have those. And I get that you're excited about this place because it's quirky and fun, but it's not really what you said you wanted. And my fear of conflict was so great that I didn't want to contradict them at all. And as it turns out, they didn't end up buying that place, and they lost trust in me. And I had a potential to list their West Side home for like $4 million and help them buy something. And I lost the business because I was wishy-washy, and I was so concerned about them liking me that I was afraid to be in conflict by saying to them, are you sure? This doesn't seem like a really good idea. So another way you might be avoiding conflict is sugarcoating feedback to avoid discomfort instead of delivering the information your client truly, truly needs. So similar to the example I just gave, I didn't even sugarcoat it. I just didn't even give them feedback. But there's times when you might go, oh yeah, like it's great. Your place is awesome. It's going to sell no problem. Well, yet they're not getting offers, or they're getting negative feedback and you're not sharing it. So, it's really important that you just tell the truth. Your job as a realtor is to tell the truth, whether they like it or not, because your job is to help them make decisions in their best interest, and they cannot do that if they don't have all the information. Okay, so finally, a way you might be avoiding conflict is to let manipulative behavior slide to keep the peace, which can allow your clients to take advantage of you. So you may have clients who are, manipulating your schedule, or trying to guilt you into reducing your commission, or taking advantage of your schedule. So you might say, well, my strategy is that I do open houses for the first 2 weekends, and then I don't do any more open houses unless you're okay with me having somebody from my office come in and do them. And then you might get manipulated from a client saying, well, no, I really need you to do that because I'm really upset if it's not you, and whatever. And they manipulate you, and you're like, okay, fine, because you don't want to argue with them. Okay. But the impact of avoiding conflict is that you attract clients who don't respect you. So it's almost like they can smell it. Those kind of clients who are boundary trashers and who don't respect realtors, it's almost like they have a missile, they lock it in, they find you. So if you want to attract aligned clients who value you and respect your time and energy and expertise, you've got to knock off the people pleasing. All right, so the last category where you might be people pleasing is that you might be looking for validation. And this one's really, really sneaky. So you might think you're being a great realtor and you're being super friendly and helpful, but what you're really looking for is validation. So it shows up like this, in a need for approval, and you might be, in your need for approval, be distracted from focusing on your value and your leadership. I have 2 great examples for you. So my client N, who came to me really upset. She felt like there was these clients that she'd been working with, and she just felt like they just didn't appreciate her, and they didn't value her, and she'd help them sell her home and buy a home, but they just didn't seem to really say much. I'm like, were they unhappy? She's like, no, they just didn't say much. They didn't tell me that I was amazing or wonderful. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, that's not your job, and you're amazing already. And if you're relying on other people to tell you that, your weakness is going to show. You need to go into a situation knowing that you are amazing. You already have value just because you are you, and you have experience. And if you are a newer realtor, you're gaining experience. You already know more than most of the public because you've taken the program, the course on the licensing, and you have access to the information. Your job isn't to know everything. Your job is to be able to have access to things and bring them together for people, and you will get better with time. But what you can bring to the table, even if you don't have all of the knowledge and expertise because you don't have a ton of experience, is leadership. I did extremely well in my real estate business right from the beginning because, aside from the example I gave you where I didn't want to give advice to that client, I really went in with leadership. I'd been a teacher for 15 years. I'd run a business before I was a teacher. I knew how to be in leadership. And I brought that with me. So if you don't know how to be in leadership, you're going to want to take care of that. Something I teach inside my coaching programs. So when you're looking for approval, as my client N was, she wasn't satisfied. She's like, well, I'm not going to work with those people anymore. And I was like, well, what if they were really happy and they just don't show their appreciation in the way you want them to? And that actually, a few months later, happened. She was working with a couple, and she actually thought the husband didn't like her. And the wife was really wonderful and enthusiastic, but she was pretty sure the husband didn't like her. And then they got everything done, and the husband was the one that was like the most effusive. He was like, wrote her a glowing review for Google review and, reached out to her and said how happy he was. And it turns out that this client was just like, as he was in the process, was just so busy processing the big decision and the big change he was going through that he didn't have the bandwidth to be validating my client. And nor should he have to. Your job as a realtor is to support your client when they're going through those things. Yes, you want them to be happy, but for them, not for you. And it's great to get a testimonial at the end. It's great to get praise for a job well done. But if you're seeking that in the process, you're off the mark, okay? And it will show with your clients. Another way you might be seeking validation is to be sharing too much of your own life to appear relatable. And this unintentionally diminishes your professional presence. So I have another client, and she came to me and she's like, what is happening? I have great relationships with all of my friends and people that I meet in networking. We have these amazing connections. We have these deep conversations, and nobody's working with me. I keep finding out they're selling their home with somebody else or doing this. And we started examining how she was showing up in those conversations, in those meetings. And it turns out she was being overly social, sharing way too much about her personal life and way too much about some of the challenges that she'd been experiencing with her health. And as a result, people connected with her, they liked her, but they didn't value her as a professional. So here's the thing. You have to choose who you're going to share with and who you're going to seek validation from, and it should never be a client or a prospective client. When you share, I'm not saying don't share from your personal life, but you've got to be aware that oversharing is not vulnerability. It's just sharing too much, and it actually makes people uncomfortable, and it makes them think, wow, you seem like a hot mess. I don't know if I would trust you to help me make a decision that's probably the biggest financial decision I'll ever make in my life. So you want to make sure that you bring your hot messness to your coach or your best friend or your partner, and you save your leadership self for those meetings, for those interactions. Be real, but don't overshare, okay? And then the final ways that you might be looking for validation and people pleasing your way out of success is you might be so focused on learning something new that you're not actually out there getting clients and business. So you might be like, I'm just going to do this certification, or I'm just going to get that, or I'm going to work together with this other group of people, and I'm going to do a workshop. And workshops are awesome, by the way, but not when they're a distraction from you actually engaging with other people that are going to become clients. And then finally, if you're trying to prove your value by going above and beyond. Now, I'm okay with you wowing your clients, but I'm going to give you an example of an above and beyond, which I believe is a full-on worst example ever of people pleasing. So a few years ago, I saw on Facebook a realtor post, not one of my clients, by the way. I don't even know who she is. Just came up my feed. And she posted that she was cleaning her client's home. So we did this video of her cleaning her client's home. It's like, wow, look at me. I go above and beyond. I'm your best realtor because I clean my client's home. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Now she thinks she's looking amazing. I'm looking at her going, wow, that is not your job. And if you start doing things like cleaning your client's home, like on her knees, like rubber gloves, cleaning products, the works, right? You're undermining your authority as a professional. Your lawyer, your doctor, your accountant would not clean your home. And I use those people as examples because we are considered professionals as realtors. And when you're a professional, when you do things to undermine your own authority, it's coming from, I believe, from a place of people pleasing. I don't know what her deal was. I'm just giving you my perspective on what I saw there, that was an example of people pleasing. I don't recommend it. If you want to support your clients and say, look, I paid the first $200 of a cleaning service when we're setting up your listing, and that could be your like bonus, right? They're paying you. So included in your fees might be, I'll pay up to $200 to have your home cleaned at the beginning of showings, etc., right? Before you have the pictures done. Like that might be something you include. But if you're kind of doing those kind of things just to prove your worth, to buy the business, yikes, okay? Because it's not just the $200 for the cleaning or the time you're spending cleaning, it's the impression it's having on those clients and potential others, okay? You're going to attract the kind of clients who will expect you to be cleaning their house. It's their mess. You shouldn't have to clean it up. Your job is to help them sell their home, not clean their house. Can you tell I feel strongly about that one? Okay. And if you have a different opinion, that's totally fine. You're welcome to it. But I just really believe that person probably was on the path to burnout, if not a lack of profitability. So seeking validation, the impact of this is that it's going to weaken your authority and it's going to make it harder for clients to trust you. So if you are doing any of these behaviors, you're looking at, you have insecure communication, you've got tendency to avoid setting boundaries or avoid conflict, or you're seeking validation from your clients, then you are definitely in people pleasing. And every time you engage in these behaviors, you train your clients to see you as negotiable. Those who respect boundaries and value expertise are repelled by this kind of energy. So I'm not going to leave you high and dry. Let's talk about what you can do to break the cycle of people pleasing. If you see yourself in any of these examples, here's how you can realign with your power. Own your value. Stop justifying or explaining. Your results will speak louder than words. Set boundaries, establish clear timelines and rules, and stick to them. Speak with confidence, so you eliminate any diminishing language from your vocabulary and really own your authority. And then challenge your beliefs. Explore why you're afraid to lose clients. Often it's tied to a scarcity mindset or self-doubt. And it's one of my mentors, you've heard me say this before, if you've been here before, Gay Hendricks says, the entrepreneur's journey is a spiritual journey. And you will be faced with your own stuff, right? If you have a scarcity mindset, you're afraid if I lose this client, I'm going to be broke and I'm going to die in the poorhouse, or I'm under a bridge with a bottle of wine. Or you might have self-doubt. Oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't know this well enough yet. What if they find out I'm a fraud because I'm only just new in the industry? Or actually, there's people I know who've been in the industry for 20 years and they're like, what if they find out I'm a fraud, right? And everyone has those moments. Like maybe the market's been slow. You haven't done any deals for a while and you start feeling like you suck. So you really need to examine your own beliefs. It's the nature of the business that you may have ebbs and flows in business. Now, inside my programs, we talk about how you don't have ebbs and flow in cash flow, even while there might be ebbs and flow in the business. Okay, more on that in other places. And then finally, you can embody your leadership. Remember, you're not just supporting your clients, you're modeling how you want them to treat you. Okay, so when you embody that sense of leadership, it really is super supportive for your clients. And last but not least, if you really want to transform the way you show up as a leader in your business and have an amazing confidence as you approach your business and as you deal with your clients, that's something I can help with. I've got my 8-week confidence code program and I've got my leadership mastermind. It's a group coaching mastermind for realtors. And the confidence code program is also designed for realtors. If you're not a realtor, you're still welcome, but the examples we use are real estate based. And both of those things are designed to help you to transform your beliefs that are keeping you in people pleasing, that are diminishing your returns on the investment of time, money, and energy that you're putting into your business and you're not getting back. So I hope that you will take what I've shared here today and apply it to your life, because you are worthy because you're worthy. And my longing for you is that you will have the most aligned, most prosperous business you can possibly have. And that's why I do these podcasts. That's why I do free masterclasses every month, is to help as many people as possible to live aligned and prosperous lives. And that's what I want for you. I'm going to put the link to the two programs I mentioned, the Confidence Code and the Group Coaching Mastermind for Leaders, Leadership Mastermind. I'll put those links in the show notes, and I'll also put a link to book a call with me if you want to. Confidence Code and the Group Coaching Mastermind, you can just get on the wait list right now, and then I'll get back to you about when the programs are open again. All right, make a wonderful day, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.